Hey everyone, today we are going to make this little square. This is the center of February knot. This one is mosaic crochet. It's overlay mosaic crochet, starting at the center and working our way out. You can see on the wrong side, we've gone around and around and around. We are going to work this together. If you want to see the whole square, February knot starts at the little hearts and then makes some big hearts in a knot design. Before you go to the next round though, it makes a secondary heart here. So I thought it was great to end after round 11 and just have these little squares. You can make a whole bunch of them, join them together. That's my plan. This is also a good way to get used to the technique. If you've been doing January and February, maybe you don't need to get used to the technique. But if you're new and you haven't tried overlay mosaic crochet yet from the center out, start here. We are going to work the whole square together. You get to decide whether the light color or the dark color becomes the design. Some designs like the Bratzel Tiger King or Comfort Cat, it matters that you use the dark color as the main color when it's written in on the chart MC, because the pupils, the face needs to look proper. These little knots, it doesn't matter, you can switch them back and forth. So today I'm going to show you this version. My background color is colorful. The hearts, the drawing part, is main color, MC. So I use MC and CC, contrasting color, meaning the background. We are going to use worsted weight yarn, but they are both very thin worsted weight yarns. I consider them a light worsted, but officially they're worsted. This is from Lion Brand's LB Collection Anya. I don't really know what that means. Bought it on clearance. That maybe it's a discontinued yarn. I'm not even sure. This one is Party Animal, and this one was a mill end. I believe it's a Bernat Coordinates. It's like white, twisty with like a really extra shiny piece in there. It doesn't really matter what yarn you use. So I'm using these ones because normally when I use a worsted weight yarn, I'm using a 5mm hook. These ones I think are a bit thin, so I decided to use a 4mm hook. Match your hook to your yarn and your tension. Make sure that the fabric flows the way you want it to. Do a gauge swatch if you need to, or just make a few squares. So you're going to need 2 colors of yarn, one dark, one light. You're going to need a hook. That's about it. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to start with my center dot, a magic ring, using this background color. The main color is what's going to make the hearts. The background color for me this time, I'm going to use this colorful stuff. To start with the magic ring, we don't need a long tail, so we just pinch it right at the end. Go around 2 fingers. At the top, we're going to cross them over. Then I grab it again. We're going to go under the first loop, grab the second loop. When we bring it here, we're going to give it a little spin. Now we're going to grab this second loop again. It's a little tricky, but you can do it, and pull it through. That creates, it just sort of locks it in place. It doesn't count as any stitch or anything. Now you've got this loop, and this loop can be tightened once we're done putting our stitches into it. We're going to go over the side that has 2 strings. So as we go, we'll tighten it just a little bit, but we're not going to pull it too tight until we have finished this row completely. So for this one, we're going to put 8 single crochets into the magic ring. This counts as nothing. So we're going to start with 1. I find it easier to manage the ring when it's small. We're used to putting this hook into a small spot, so it's okay if your magic ring is tiny. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to tighten it just to get those 2 ends close together. Don't close it all the way yet. When you pull on that magic ring, it's going to tighten your very first stitch. If you tighten it now, it's going to be too difficult to work into it. We're going to close our circle with an invisible join. Now it's not really invisible. We will still technically see it, but it's close to invisible. We take our hook out. I know this is dangerous, right? We've got a live loop. This is our first stitch here, the V. We're gonna go in the back. We're gonna go through both loops. I usually have to pick them up one at a time when I'm working this direction. It's okay if you pick them up one at a time, or if maybe you're magical and you can just go right through. I don't know. Grab your loop, put it back on, and pull it through. So now you can tighten your ring. That little tail, he needs to be woven in really, really well. Currently we're tightening him and we're going to keep working. It'll loosen. If you're not careful, it'll keep coming undone. And if you don't put this tail properly woven in, your whole project will come apart. So don't forget that at the end. This is the stitch, the last stitch we made is this one where it just turned green. And the invisible join is right here. These two loops, that's this that we pulled it right through. So when it's tight enough, you can't see it. If it loosens a bit, you'll be able to see the stitch. So that's why it's almost invisible, okay? And now we just got this cute little tiny button. We're gonna go to round 2. And this time we're gonna use the main color. So the part that's making the hearts. For me, I'm gonna use this white. To switch your colors, so keep track, this is the front side of your circle. All we're going to do is pick up a loop of this white. Your tail doesn't have to be too long. You want to leave enough yarn that you can weave it in later. So I usually overdo it because I'd rather not fight with it at the end, but if you're more experienced and you want to leave a shorter tail, that's okay. Now this is tricky because there's not much to hold on to. So you've got your tail that closes the inner circle, and this is the yarn you were working with. Tighten that up because it's just holding things in place. It doesn't really count as a stitch, it's just a join that's tightening everything together. Now using your main color, we're going to chain 1. Now this loop is ridiculously huge, so you can pull to tighten it from the back. On subsequent rows you won't have this back to pull on, but it's easy on the beginning because we have the back. So this is the join. None of these count as stitches. That's just how we join it, how we get to the next yarn. Our first stitch of this row 2, we're going to be making a single crochet corner. A single crochet, because we're doing mosaic crochet, is always using the back loop. Normally you'd go under 2 loops. We're just going to use the back loop. And this is the first stitch of what we had done before. You can tell because my yarn changed colors. So we're going to grab the back loop. And this yarn, the colorful stuff that I had been using, I'm going to carry it for 1 stitch. I'm going to bring it so that it's following the path. And then I'm going to grab my main color, pull it through for a single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1 and do another single crochet in the same spot for our corner. This single crochet, we don't need to carry this yarn anymore. He's already in the right place for the next round, so we'll just do our single crochet. That's the corner. Now we have single crochet 1, and that's the end of the asterisk. That's the whole side. So we're making 4 sides of a square, so that's side 1. Side 2 is going to start with that corner again. So we're going to grab the back loop, single crochet, chain, single crochet into the same spot. 1 more single crochet, that's the side of our square. And now we're on to the next side. I mean, these sides, they're going really quick here because it's so small. Single crochet corner, chain, and single crochet in the same spot, plus our 1 single crochet for the side. Now this is our last side. We're going to go corner and 1. Now if this is loosened up, you might be able to see another loop here that you're going to ignore. We're already done. We're just going to do an invisible join. In this corner you had a single crochet, a chain, and a single crochet. So this first single crochet, that's where you're going to pick up your loops, both loops. pull it through. And now we can grab our accent color. The background color for me is Pretty Stuff. I'm going to tighten this one up a bit. That's a bit ginormous, that loop. So we're just going to pull it through. Now we're working with the next color. And we're going to tighten this and carry it forward. Our colorful one here, this is our background color for me. We just locking it in place. That's our join. It doesn't count as any stitches, it's just joined. We're now on to round 3. We start with a single crochet corner, which uses the back loop of the chain from the previous corner. So sometimes you might need to, figure out what you had going in the corner before. This was a single crochet. The next one here is the chain. So I'm going to grab the back loop, carry that white one with it just for the first single crochet, chain 1, and then single crochet in the same spot, but I don't need to carry that white anymore. That's the corner. Now this round says single crochet 2, so we got 1, 2, and then double crochet 1. We get to our first double crochet stitch. It's not a normal double crochet, it's a mosaic crochet. So we know it's a dropped double crochet in the front loop 2 rows below. This would be the stitch that we're skipping. When we do a double crochet, we don't use this stitch at all. It just gets skipped. Yarn over, drop it all the way down to find the front loop 2 rows below. And do our double crochet. That's the side. When we turn it to start here, we have to remember that we've skipped that stitch. So our single crochet corner is going to be here. And if you really pay attention, you'll see that that is the chain that is between the 2 stitches that were in the corner. So we go single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the same spot. That's our corner stitch. Then we have 2 single crochets and 1 double. We're skipping this. We're going to ground here. It is the front loop of the chain that was used in the corner. So that's helpful information perhaps for you. Turning our work. Make sure that you're still, this loop has been used, so this one's the one that's skipped. This is the chain, so that's where the corner goes. Single crochet, chain, single crochet. 2 stitches. And a double crochet, drops down, grabbing the front loop below. If you're having a hard time finding your loops, you may prefer to put stitch markers into them when you create them. So at this point, when you're doing your single crochet corner, chain, you could put stitch markers now so that you know those are the loops you're looking for later. Single crochet again into that same spot. Then we'll have 2 stitches, 1, 2, and the dropped goes down here. That's the end of the row. We're going to join it with that invisible join again. Now here's where sometimes it gets tricky. You can see the color peeking out here. That was not a stitch, so pay attention to your corner. It had a single crochet, that's these loops, then the chain, and the single crochet. So we're joining into that single crochet. Bring the loop through it. We can tighten it up a bit, doesn't have to be too crazy tight. Counting our rows, this middle dot counts as 1. I prefer to count on the wrong side. 1, 2, 3. So the next row here is using our 4. Our main color is the one that's making the hearts. Main color for me is white. First, I'm going to change colors because I'm still using the wrong color. So I'm going to pick up the white and tighten the blue multicolor stuff. We just got too many tails at the back, that's all. We're going to grab this one, tighten it here and carry it to the front. Now we're going to make our locking join. That's it, we're ready now. So to do round 4, it starts with a single crochet corner again. So we're going to find the back loop of the chain that was from the previous corner. And we're going to keep this working tail with it just for 1 stitch. So we go single crochet, chain. The next single crochet, we're going to get it out of the way. Oh, my yarn did weird. Single crochet. The next 4 stitches are all single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, single crochet means it's in the back loop because we're doing mosaic crochet. That's in the key. That's how you know you're doing the stitches properly. Then we have 1 double crochet. So this is the stitch we'd be skipping. And the loop that we're going to grab is the front loop of that corner chain again. It just happens to work that way in this. Double crochet. Now we're going to turn our work. Single crochet corner. It's using the back loop of the chain from the previous corner. The corners are always going into the corners. And then we have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Double crochet is using that front loop. Turn our work. Remember, you're skipping 1 stitch, so you're grabbing the chain here. A single crochet corner does all 3. Single crochet, chain, single crochet in the same spot. Then we've got 4 stitches. Double crochet, it's skipping the orange one. Going down here to grab that loop. Turn our work. Back loop, single crochet corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. This yellow stitch, that's the one we're skipping. We're going to drop down, pick up our front loop. That's the end of this one. We're going to join it to that first single crochet. Again, if you need stitch markers, put the stitch markers in when you create the stitch. That way you know that's the stitch you wanted to play with. Back to our contrasting color, our background color. I'm going to pull up a loop, tighten this and carry it, and lock it in. Our first stitch is again a single crochet corner. So we're going to find that chain, the back loop of the chain, keeping the extra white in front as well. Single crochet, chain, single crochet in the same place, but we don't need to carry the white. We only need it 1 stitch. Now we've got a double crochet right off the bat. This time the stitch we are skipping is here, but the loop that we're grabbing is the chain, the front loop of the chain again. Sometimes they can be hard to find, so if you don't know which loop you're trying to get and they're all tight in there, it can be difficult. Stitch markers are your friend. Then we have 1 single crochet, so remember this loop at the back gets skipped. Put 1 single crochet here. Then we have 3 doubles. We're going to drop it down and grab the loop in front. You can see that at the front here we have the loop that was also skipped, so it matches. Everything is lining up. 1, 2, 3. We can't put a 4th one because you can't put a dropped double crochet into this. There's no colorful loop for us to grab. So we know that this is a single crochet. Our final stitch of the round is a double crochet. So it's grabbing the front loop of the chain from the corner. Now we turn it. We're going to do another side. The single crochet corner goes into the back loop of the chain, single crochet, chain, single crochet. Our double crochet is this stitch, and it drops down. It uses the same loop. These two are sharing the loop because the corners, that's just how they work. So they've got the front loop. Now we're going to put our single crochet. Make sure everything is lined up, so you're skipping one. This is the back loop here. 3 doubles. You'll notice when I pull it up, I tend to grab this loop because I don't like stretching them out. I try not to do it too much for the video because I want you to see what I'm doing, but I also don't want to stretch my yarn out. I think it would go back if you blocked your piece. I just don't like stretching it out to begin with, you know what I'm saying? So we got 1 single crochet here, and then the double. So this is the one that we're going to use. He gets used for this stitch and the first stitch over here. Our corner stitch is a single crochet corner, so we're going to put it in the back loop of that chain, and we do the side again. So it's that same loop, 1 double crochet, 1 single crochet, and 3 doubles. One single crochet, double crochet. It's using the front loop of the chain. Turn our work, starting with our single crochet corner again. Corner, then, oops, after the corner is a double. Yep, okay. Double goes in that front loop there again. Single, 3 doubles. One single crochet, 1 double. It's using that same loop that this stitch had gone into, so it's easier to find since it's already been picked up. Remember our single crochet, chain, single crochet. So this is the loop we're going to join everything to. Loops, I should say 2 loops. It's front and the back loops. We're both grabbing both for our join. And this, you can see, it's not completely invisible because if it stretches out, you will be able to see the stitch here and those 2 that are going into the stitch. So something to keep track of. So far we haven't had a problem. We're going to do round 6 using our main color. We're going to pick up the main color, tighten this one, carry it for 1 stitch. Lock it in. Round 6, we have our single crochet corner again. We are liking those single crochet corners, but spoiler alert, there will be a double crochet one coming up, so we still have to pay attention. Single crochet corner, then we have a double. The double crochet is using that front loop that's hiding in here, so he can be difficult to find. We've got 1 double, 1 single, 1 double, 3 singles, 1 more double, single, double. So we got to find that front loop in there. Turn our work. We start with our single crochet corner. Oops, my yarn split. double crochet is using that same loop. So the first and the last double crochet are both using that loop. And now if you pay attention here, the only places that you can put a double crochet are here, and that's where you are. So basically it's easy because every place that can have a double crochet does. 1, 2, 3, double, single, this single crochet, make sure you're grabbing the right loop, because you can see this is where our invisible join was. You might be able to see these two pink ones. You can sort of see that it's there. Make sure you're grabbing the right loop. The final stitch is the blue one. That's the one that we're skipping because we're going to do the drop double crochet instead. Joining them back together. Seven is using our contrasting color or the background color. I'm going to tighten this, bring it to the forward just for one stitch, just to carry it. Lock it all into place, tighten that one up. We're ready to go. Round 7, again, we've got our single crochet corner. I'm going to find our back loop, keep that working tail of the white here in the front here for one stitch, and then the rest of the corner we don't need to lock it in. It's just hanging out there waiting for its turn. We are going to put a double crochet in this funny front loop that's hiding in there. So you might have to pull things around because the loop, he's in there, but he can be hard to find, okay? So stitch markers if you need to. Again, it's not a bad thing if you have to use them. Nobody's gonna complain. Now we've got 3 single crochets, so we're going right across the top here. There's the double, the single, and the double. We're going to let all 3 of those be seen, and then we're going to put 3 doubles back down on top of the doubles that we already have, so creating a nice thick set of color. And we've got 3 on the top again. 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3. Our double crochet is using that front loop. And then our single crochet corner to start the next side. So I think you're getting it, how each side is the same. Our final drop is using the same loop as that first dropped. And then we join to our single crochet. Back to using our main color. We're going to pick it up, bring it to the front, lock it in, tighten it a little bit. We are now, if you're counting our rows, the color in the middle is 1, 3, 5, 7. So we're on round 8, and it starts with a double crochet corner, which we have not yet seen on this pattern. So the first thing we want to pay attention to is which loop are we going to be using if it was a single crochet corner. I want you to know that, because for my double crochet corners I like to lock them in. You'll notice on the wrong side when you have a double crochet you get a bit of a flap.
Some people really detest these flaps. I don't mind them, except when it's in the corners. I cannot stand the corner flaps. So I always lock in my corners. It keeps everything smooth, and I just don't notice that these are flaps. I mean, technically you can get in there, but not really. So for my drop double crochets, I mean, technically you do not have to lock them in. It's just what I do. So we need to know this would be the single crochet corner. That's the chain space. That is the back loop here. That's where I'm going to be locking it in, okay? But we need to yarn over because it's going to be a drop double crochet. It's going to grab that front loop of the chain from the previous corner. We're going to yarn over, pull it up. We're going to go through 2. And now that we have 2 on our yarn, or sorry, 2 loops on our hook, we're going to carry this to the front. And we're going to carry this also to the front just for a second so that we can grab that loop. This is where the back loop of the corner chain, we're going to lock it in. So we're going to grab our white one. You see how the 2 colors, they're just lying beside each other. They're in the same place. We're going to finish the double crochet. It's just wrapped around there. Chain 1, because just like the single crochet corners, a double crochet corner is double crochet, chain, double crochet in the same spot. Yarn over, grab that loop down there, pick it up, pull through 2, but before we do the finishing part of the stitch, we're going to find that same loop that we were already using, and we're not carrying it for the second stitch in the corner, just like with the single crochet corners. It's the same idea. So we're going to pull the loop up and finish the double crochet. Now, I know that feels overwhelming because it's different, but you can handle it. Slow the video down if you need to. We'll go over some more corners here in just a second. Our first stitch of this round, or this side, is also a double crochet. Yarn over. This is the next stitch, and the corner, it's the same stitch. So you're using that same front loop. He's going to be really full, but he can handle it. Double crochet, finish it off. When we get around to the end, our final stitch is also a double crochet, and it'll use the same loop. All 4 double crochets are going to use that same front loop. For this side here, we have a double crochet in the corner, 11 stitches across, and then a double crochet in the corner. Counting, I always recommend. I don't always do. Sometimes I use the visual cues and I ignore the counting. 11 stitches, I probably would count it most of the time. I'm not going to count it today because I'm too busy yapping. You know, talking to yourself is busy work, making sure you keep up both sides of the conversation. So you can count them. If you do, you'll get 11 single crochets. It basically, you can see there's kind of like the corner boxes, right? So our final stitch of this side is the double crochet corner. No, sorry, it's a double crochet, not the corner yet. We're just at the final stitch. It's using the front loop of the chain from the corner in the other white row. So the side looks like this. We're going to turn our work and do this side, starting with the double crochet corner. Yarn over, grab that same front loop, do the first part of the double crochet, and now you can lock it in. You don't have to lock it in. Single crochet, chain, single crochet. So this chain, the back loop, that's where I lock it. And I just pull it through as if I was finishing the double crochet and ignoring that it happens to also be through the back corner there. Chain 1, double crochet, because we got to finish the corner. We're going to go through the first 2 loops, then we're going to find that spot and finish the double crochet. The first stitch is also a double crochet, so we've got to put it in that same spot, but I don't lock it into anything. You see how the difference is? So now we're going to go across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So that is right on top of the double crochet. You know you're in the right spot. Our corner, I'm going to show you an unlocked corner. It's really just because of the back. So you can see these ones are quite smooth. Our join where we've been carrying the yarn is almost invisible. Not quite, but pretty close. So if we were to do our double crochet for the end of the side, and then our corner double crochets, and then the first stitch, we'll do all 4 of them here. If you don't lock any of them in, that is an option for you. So double crochet for the end of the side, then our corner uses 1 chain and 1 again in the same spot, and then our first stitch of the side is also a double crochet in the same spot. And then if you were to keep going, what happens is on the back you get this little flap, and for some reason the corner flaps bother me. Even though there is technically flaps in here, they don't really bother me. So it's up to you. You don't have to lock it in. You can do it this way. I'm gonna lock them in. I gotta lock it in. I have to. So after I finish, this was for the end of the side, the corner only, I lock it into the chain, the same spot where a single crochet corner would have gone. And then the first stitch of this side is a double crochet. Then we've got 11 singles. So the final stitch on the side is a double crochet, so you have to make sure you grab that same loop where all those other ones are already in. And then we will join it to the first stitch, which in this case is the double crochet. Okay, we are going to grab our contrasting color, the background color. The background color for me is this colorful stuff. We're going to do round 9. So we're just going to grab our color first, bring it to the front, and lock it in place. Tighten it up. Doesn't have to be too crazy tight, but you want this to stay tight so that it's not really showing at the end. The first thing we notice on this round is that we have to start with a single crochet corner because it's impossible to drop down. There's nowhere to grab. So we know this is going to be a single crochet corner. So we grab our chain between the 2 double crochets. There's our chain, our back loop, and we do our single crochet corner. Then we'll have 2 single crochets, which we know has to be. You can't do a drop double crochet on top of another drop double crochet of the other color. It doesn't work. And then we're going to have 11 double crochets all through here. So it's basically the opposite of the row we just did. So you can count them. Of course, I recommend counting them, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to do every single stitch that can fit in here. And it happens to be 11. This is the 11th double crochet. Then we have 2 single crochets to finish this side. They are going above those 2 double crochets. The next stitch is our single crochet corner. So we're going to turn our work, grab the back loop, do our corner stitch all in that same spot, Then we have 2 single crochets, which makes sense because we can't possibly put a double crochet there. And then everywhere we can put a double crochet, we are. Okay, so I've done my 11 double crochets. This final corner can be tricky. We have 2 single crochets that we need to put in here to finish our side. The first one goes right above this double crochet. And then the second one can be difficult because this is where we joined with our invisible join. And now that you've got these stitches at the back, they kind of squish the stitch here. So what you're looking for is the stitch that is squished. You can see the double crochet here. The very top, the V of that double crochet is here. And I find it easier sometimes to pull the front loop down so that I can get into the back loop. Now, this is where perhaps stitch markers will come in handy. I find that they get in my way, but that's what people seem to like. So that's the second single crochet of the side. And now we can do our invisible join. This was the single crochet, the chain, and then this orangey one was the first single crochet, so that's where we're going. The peach color down here, that was our invisible join, so we're not using that. We don't want to pull on that one. Bring our loop in, tighten it up, grab our other color, lock it all into place. We are now ready to do, using our main color, the one that's making the hearts, round 10, starting with a single crochet corner. So we find single crochet, chain, and single crochet. It's these pinky ones. The chain. I'm going to carry my yarn once. Oops, I split my yarn. There we go. Single crochet, chain, single crochet. Our first stitch, 1, 2, 3 double crochets. So the first one uses that front loop. With white here, it is a little difficult for you to see, I'm sorry, with the white. I specifically didn't pick black, but I think the white is just as difficult for you to see. So it's the front loop of the corner, the chain. We're going to go 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, and 3. It fits in there nicely. We don't have the option of doing any double crochets here. There's no white for you to grab, so you know that these are all single crochets. And it happens to be 11 stitches if you wanted to count, which is always good to count, but I didn't. It just did all that could fit. And then we've got 3 double crochets to squish at the end again. So the first one's not so hard to find. 1, 2. The third one uses the chain space, not chain space. The front loop of the chain. Chain space is a completely different thing. It uses the front loop of the chain. And then we have our single crochet corner. So in the back you've skipped 1, 2, 3, and this is the corner, the chain, the back loop, single crochet, chain, single crochet. Our first 3 stitches here are using double crochet. So it's the same front loop that we just used. And the second one uses his own. And this guy, he also has his own loop. So we're going to single crochet, double crochet. Okay, so as you can see, I've gone most of the way around. I wanted to point out here at the corner, my first double crochet was easy to find. The next one is where we had that invisible join. So sometimes it can be hard to know what is the invisible join that's not invisible and what is actually the top of the double crochet. So if you find you have too many loops here, you need to skip the first one that you see here. It's the enjoin, it's the invisible join. We're going to grab the second loop that's closest to our corner, and then the third one goes right in the corner. Then we're going to join our yarn to that first single crochet from the corners. One, 3, 5, 7, 9. We are now going to grab our contrasting color, the background color, round 11, pull it up, carry it, lock it in tightly. Round 11 starts with a double crochet corner. So it's going to use this front loop here, down here, and I'm going to lock it into the chain space here. Again, the locking is optional, but that's what I do. So that's how I'm going to show it to you. We're going to do the first half of the double crochet, then I'm going to bring this forward and this one forward so that I can grab that chain. We're going to keep the two white ones lined up and just finish the double crochet around it. Chain 1 for the corner, double crochet uses that same loop, the first half of the double crochet, the second half happens to be around that loop. We don't need to carry the white, so we'll just get it out of the way, pull it through. That's our corner. Now the first stitch is also double crochet, so it uses the same front loop of the chain, and then we have 3 single crochets, 11 double crochets, 3 single crochets, and a double in the corner again. So pretty easy to remember because there's a lot of visual cues that tell you where you can and can't do anything. Those 3 single crochets because you can't do any doubles. Now that we can do doubles, we'll fill it all the way up. If we want to count, we can. We get 11 double crochets. Oops, I split my yarn. Let me fix that. There we go. Three single crochets because we can't do any more doubles. So we're using that chain, the front loop. It can be difficult to find it. It's basically, there's a lot of loops crisscrossing. It's the one that's angled the right direction. That's how I usually find it. If you happen to grab the wrong loop, it's probably not the end of the world. Long as it's in the vicinity, I'm sure it'll work just fine. So now we're going to turn our work. We're going to start with our double crochet corner, which means I am going to lock it in, chain 1, finish the corner, but I'm still going to lock it in. And then our 4th double crochet that fits all in the same spot here is the beginning of this round or side. And then we go back to following our visual cues. So we've got 3 singles, and a bunch of doubles. A whole bunch, all of them. Well, 11, you know what I mean. So we're just finishing up round 11, and I should have said it earlier because I was excited and then I forgot, but this is it. This is the final round. So we've got 1, 2, 3, our drop double crochet using that same front loop. Then we can still do our join. And that's it. That's all she wrote. And by she wrote, I mean me. I wrote. Anyway, to finish it off, we're going to pull this through one more time and cut it. I usually leave about this much. Pull it through, tighten it. Now we're going to weave these. All 4 of these need to be woven. The most important ones are this final one, because if it slips open, then your project will unravel, and the very first one, because if it slips open, your project will unravel. These two ones are already half locked in. They still need to be woven properly, but there's not as much danger in those ones. So this is the wrong side. You can tell we started from the center and worked our way out. You can see where we joined it, but it's pretty invisible. I mean, it's not really invisible, but it's hidden well. The front, doesn't matter which direction you turn it, it's all little hearts and other hearts. If you had a string, this is from the Celtic knots, right? So it's really a string that's going, around and around and over itself. And where it crosses, that's where these lines disappear underneath. That's what it's supposed to show. My pretty colors do look nice, but they are very busy for this line. It looks easier to see when I have a solid color. So things to consider. And yeah, I'm not cutting this one off because I'm making the full square over here. This one I'm going to cut it, I'll weave it in. And I want to make 1,000,000 of these and join them together. That's the plan. So stick with me. Maybe you'll see it. Not today, but soon, maybe. Check me out on Instagram or on my Facebook group.